spot Happy Gulf of America Day. Here is the one of the first publications of called Gulf of Mexico, uh, 1718. And since the 1700s, it's been called this. It's been used as this. Um, Mexico is the Spanish iteration of Mexica, which is Nahuatl, which is one of the many indigenous languages in Mexico. So there is a wonderful history with it being called the Gulf of Mexico. Population-wise, there's more Mexicans along these coastlines, a couple of million more than the ones on the state coastlines, Florida, Alabama, Texas. There might be more miles. But this is a historical landmark that we can say this was our history here of what Mexico once was in regards to the land, and then how Texas became to be, and where we are now with our embattled borders. But, you know, the same people that support this support not changing names of schools, not taking down statues in the South. We should leave those statues of Confederate heroes up. It teaches us about our history. And this is a historical hypocrisy. Because really, let's just be honest, you guys just want to name it America so you can continue this manifest destiny idea. It's like, this all should be America. Oh, America. Now, I think it's kind of funny because I actually probably would have named it Gulf of the USA. Because Gulf of America, that's Amargo, is Italian, who named it America. That's silly as well, because Mexico can claim Gulf de America, which is but to take the name away of Gulf of Mexico, it's a supreme slap in the face to our neighbors, to our shared history, to the disrespect. And there's some YouTubers that I know that have in the last few days relished in the changing of these names, and it speaks to their own bigotry, to their own racist attitudes. Because I've seen other tweets and posts that you have put out there with your low-key racist jokes towards Latinos. I've seen them. So seeing them and you posting, we're talking about this, guys, right? Seeing them and then posting them over time, those last couple of years, when you relish in something like this, it doesn't surprise me with your take. This is a very shaded bigotry here, and then you add that empowered, Trump supporter, because this is all from the right. You add that to the empowered Trump supporter, and you get a lot. You're getting a lot of nasty attitudes coming out, and I've seen it, man. I see you. All the pleasantries are gone. Okay, this is what you really think of us. And it's amazing. You might as well change all the names in, right? Change them now. Florida, San Antonio, Texas. Change them. Do it right now. California, Colorado. Then we're not even talking about the blatant imperialistic takeover of the Texas Republic, the Texas territory, because that's what it was. That was supreme manifest destiny. And then there was two factions of Texans at that time, right? There was the Texans that brought in their slavery, and then there was the Tejanos who wanted to be independent from Mexico, because Mexico was a very young empire, a country of its own that just broke away from Spain early 1820s and said no to slavery. Ah, buddy, there was that faction of the Texas Republic that wanted none of that. They didn't want Catholics, and they wanted their slavery to continue and thrive, which it did. And that's how, this they annexed this land through very unscrupulous means, and then they continued, and then you had all these rebellions against Mexico, win some, lose some, and then you eventually lost. And you had Mexico eventually lost. And it's like, well, why didn't you just wipe the whole thing clean? Take all the Spanish out of it. Take all the Mexican out of it. Don't just keep some of it. Got that manifest destiny, right? Whether it's this white Christian shall prevail mentality sweeping across the land of savages. Now let's talk about the Comanches that you forcibly just pushed out of Texas. There was a faction that wanted to live, the faction of the Texas Republic that wanted to live in peace with the Comanches, right? Then there's the other faction. Nope, want them out, get them out. Manifest destiny is part of. So this whole thing is not new, dog. This bullshit with Gulf of America, the history, our shared history, guys, our shared history of the of what America is, right? Has been so nasty, has been so nasty, but it has to be known, and it has to be studied, and we move on as Americans. I'm not a guy here who's like, we'll give it back to Mexico. We'll give it back to, it's its own land. I'm not that guy. I'm into being an American. I'm not that guy. But this, when Trump does this shit, I'm gonna speak out, man. That's just it. This is my little platform, because it's just a disrespectful slap in the face, not only to Mexico, not only to its people, but to Mexican Americans, Chicanos as well, because it's been a history of Mexican Americans trying to find their footing in this country for 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 170 years, since Texas was annexed, since the Mexican American War, where obviously Mexico lost, and over half of Mexico was annexed, and then their Indian problems became the native problems for the U.S. government. So I get it, man. It's a nasty, bloody history. But on one hand, y'all are saying don't change the names of, you know, Mount McKinley, Burleson, all these other, white vatos back in the day who had some very racist attitudes towards Native Americans, towards Mexicans, but we're going to change Gulf of Mexico. What year are we in? What year are we in with this shit? What does it say about Trump's administration in regards to the different ethnic makeup of Americans? Because we're not all white. I hate to say it. Hate to disappoint. We all speak English, and we should. We absolutely should. But we have so much wonderful cultural diversity. Come on, man. Come on. Just the terrain of this. That's another thing. The terrain of the states is so different. The Virginia Hills, the Virginian people compared to the Texas people, the New Mexican people, the Montana people, the people on the Gulf, the people on the West Coast. This stuff is gorgeous of what makes us Americans. You know, there's an old saying, we didn't cross the borders crossed us. We are immigrants to our own land because one point we're from this land, half indigenous, half Spanish. Then the next day, overnight, we're the foreigner. And that wasn't ever more clear in the history of early Texas and the Texas Rangers and the mass hangings of Mexicans, the mass unscrupulous land takeovers of Mexican landowners. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was completely spit on in regards to Mexican nationals, Mexican Americans. I mean, I could go on because this is where I got my studies on. It was important to me as a young man who knew nothing about being Mexican, nothing about my Chicano culture. I just knew I was ashamed of it. And I went to school and I learned all this wonderful history that we are a part of here. And so when I see something like this, man, it's just very disappointing. It's a waste of time in what Trump is doing. And ultimately, you're dividing more people. You want people like me on your side. Because I know what other vatos think. The lefty Chicanos. They don't want anything to do with y'all. Right? You want people like me, like Brandon from Daily Chela, uh, to come to the table and bring people together. This doesn't. This is just really bad divisive shit. And I know he passed it yesterday. He signed some executive orders flying over to the Super Bowl. Um, I actually think it's a huge misstep. He probably should have just called it Gulf of USA. That would have been, a slap in the face. Gulf of America, it's like, all right, dog. I don't think you really knew what you were doing there. But then you have all these people, can't wait to visit Gulf of America. Can't wait to, there's this kind of like underlying undertone that's becoming more prevalent, more emboldened, and you're seeing videos of these guys as being horribly racist towards Mexicans. What the fuck is that all about? And when I say Mexicans, I'm probably talking about Americans who are like me, Mexican descent. Like there was a video of this young guy um saying terrible stuff to this Mexican woman in a restaurant. Where do you think he gets that attitude from? Who does that benefit? Not down with this whole Gulf of Mexico change. Am I in the wrong? I'll let you guys talk right now. Let me just give you some more information. The Gulf ultimately derives his name, as I said, from Mexica, Nahuatl. It's a term from the Aztecs. So Nahuatl is the Aztec language. Gulf of Mexico is officially recognized by the International Hydrographic Organization, which seeks to standardize the names of international maritime features for certain purposes and counts all three countries adjacent to the Gulf as member states. In 1584, it was the first map labeled as the Sea of the North, Mar del Norte. Hernan Cortez called it by its name, Gulf of Cortez, Gulf of Florida. It's also been known as the Gulf of the Yucatan, Gulf of New Spain. I mean, but this is from 1584 and on. Where is the honoring of that history? Hey, don't change the name, dog. Don't be changing. Don't be renaming statues. Don't be tearing down statues just because they're old white dudes. No, we can learn from that history. We can learn from that history. Soon they're gonna come after that person and that. Oh, but change Gulf of Mexico. Trump, when you get in there, change that Gulf of Mexico. Change it right now. America. America number one. Gulf of America.